Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for tuning into another Supatease video. And the Arena World Championship is just around the corner. Season 2 is going to be starting in June, and I wanted to make a tier list of my predictions for which specializations could be the most likely to win the entire thing at this current time in 10.1, and which specializations we're probably not going to see at all. And that's basically the spectrum here of S tier being specs that are likely to win, D tier being likely that we're not going to see them at all. If you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with news and changes related to World of Warcraft and Blizzard in general, make sure to smash the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. But let's get started. We got a lot of specs to rank. Blood DK, pretty easy. We're not going to see it. Just has no sort of compatibility that I see competitively at the highest level of play at this moment in time. Frost Death Knight, again, I'm thinking it's really unlikely that we see this specialization. It just doesn't have anything about it that's really making me think that it shines. The one composition that I'm thinking you possibly see is Devastation Evoker Frost DK, but I think that would be a desperation cheese attempt. So I'm thinking it's probably just not even going to see it. The only reason I'm somewhat leaning here is because Mez might play it one time, but they'll realize pretty quickly and then never play it again. So I'm thinking it's probably just not going to be seen at all in tournament play. And Unholy Death Knight, same type of deal here. DK is just not doing too hot right now, at least in tournament play when it's like, you know, money's on the line. Titles on the line. I don't see it having a spot. I was trying to think like maybe as a counter pick, but even that, I don't feel like DK is even a counter pick. It's just very subpar at the moment when it comes to the highest level of play. So unfortunately, Death Knight's not going to really be seeing you. Demon Hunter, my ranking of this one might come as a bit of a surprise. I think a lot of players are anticipating Balanced Druid Demon Hunter to be kind of one of the forerunner compositions to win the entire thing. But I think that Subtlety Rogue actually makes it really difficult for Demon Hunter. And there's other compositions as well, melee cleaves, that can kill it in a stun. So I actually think Demon Hunter might be A tier overall as the meta evolves and shifts more into Subtlety Rogue. Still has a really good chance, likely going to have be seen a lot, but I think the Subtlety Rogues might be taking the cut above it. Vengeance Demon Hunter, again, we're probably not going to see it. Tank specialization, really unlikely. Balanced Druid is a specialization that I could see winning it. Demon Hunter Balanced Druid, but there's other compositions as well, like Balanced Druid Subtlety Rogue I'm seeing a little bit more of. Balanced Druid Elemental Shaman, it's got to have a little bit more flexibility in terms of compositions and competitive play. But same type of weakness, I think, is Sub-Rogue for this when it comes to tournament play. Feral Druid, this one might come as a surprise. I think it's kind of a sleeper composition, and there's always a couple of them running around in tournament play, which is Jungle Cleave. So I could see Feral Druid. Do I see it going all of the way, though? I want to say maybe B, but I don't know, man. I feel like I could see a Feral Druid going all the way at this time. As we move through all the specs, I might readjust some of these. Guardian Druid, again, tank spec, does no sort of competitive compatibility at the highest level. Not going to see it. Resto Druid, maybe there's a Resto Druid main, but I'm kind of doubting it. I feel like Resto Druid, like maybe some Wizard Cleave compositions or something like that, you might see it. Would it be able to win the entire thing? I think it would really struggle at the moment. So it might pop up, but I think it'd be pretty unlikely. Devastation Evoker, again, much like Frost DK. Oh, actually, I don't know. Actually, I'm starting to see this one more and more in other compositions, other Wizard Cleaves. Like I've seen Balanced Druid Evoker, I think Mage Evoker a couple of times. I'm not sure if this is teams experimenting or if they really think that they could commit to it. There's possibility to see it, but I think it would be unlikely to win. That one might come back to bite me, honestly. This one you could hold against me. It might come back to bite me. It might actually have a good chance of winning. Preservation Evoker. This is one that I think I could see winning the thing. We've seen Meh play this in EU a lot. Sea-Doo plays it. It pops up. I think Preservation Boomkin Evoker is a really good composition and likely one of the best ones to go into the competition with. So I think it could have a really good chance of winning the whole thing, and likely will be seen quite a bit. Beast Mastery Hunter. Hunter in general has been kind of weird. I was really expecting Beast Mastery Hunter to do a lot better than it currently is. I think Jungle Cleave is still a good shot for it, but I actually think it's probably survival. Maybe not, though. Maybe it is Beast Mastery. Probably in the middle here. I think Feral's going to have a couple of other possible compositions that could be broken out. We've seen a lot of teams in the past, even last season, like Feral Ret, and tried random things. I think Feral's a higher chance of being seen, whereas Hunter will only be seen if it's played with a Feral, I think, and maybe a Ret. Survival Hunter, I think that this one, again, maybe I'd be overrating it if I put it above B, but I could see Feral Hunter and Rogue Hunter possibly being really good. So probably middle. Likely it's going to be carried by one of the other more overpowered specs, though. Marksmanship Hunter, pretty low. I don't want to say it's completely zero, but I think it's completely zero. I think it's very unlikely that we see this. Maybe it's here, but that's generous. I'm being generous here, putting it on C. Arcane Mage. Are we more likely to see Arcane than Fire? I feel like we're going to see a lot of Fire. Arcane could be one of those specs. I know Cubsy's been practicing it a lot in tournament play, but I'm trying to think like RMP. You're pretty much going to be Fire, I think, exclusively. Put it down here. I think there's a chance that we see it, but it could be pretty low. Fire Mage, probably S tier. I think RMP and even possibly other compositions are going to be really strong for it. Again, this is a prediction at 10.1. Possibly there's changes that move forward past this, and I'll keep you guys up to date with those changes. But in the current build, if there's a tournament tomorrow, this would be my expectation. It's likely going to be really good. Has great power and damage output comparable to some of the best classes in the game. And within RMP, you can just absolutely smoke people. Frost Mage, maybe there's some Mage Lock kind of dampeners that I could see popping up every couple times here, like we've seen in the past. So probably middle of the pack. Mistweaver Monk, I think this is also another S tier healer. It's just really good throughput, a lot of outs, a lot of survivability. Best mana in the game, and usually best mana in the game is like the highest likelihood of winning. So Mistweaver's definitely a strong competitor here. Brewmaster, probably not going to see it. Windwalker Monk, I feel like Enhancement Shaman and Subtlety Rogue are kind of taking like the forefront for melee DPS, and it's like which one works the best with them, Windwalker or Warrior. And I'm not really seeing a lot of Windwalker. While I still think it's strong, I think Subtlety Rogues will probably make it tough for you. Even the balanced Druid comps will probably make it tough for you. So it's probably like maybe we see it, but it's pretty middle of the pack. It's not even that it's weak. I just don't know if it's the most synergized in the current meta with the other classes. Holy Paladin. Is Brain going to play Holy Paladin? There's no way. There's got to be no way. It's got the worst mana. There's no way. No Holy Paladins. Prop Paladin. Again, maybe there's something going on with it that I don't know, but I think it's unlikely that we'd see it in a tournament. Ret Paladin, I do think there is a chance we could see Ret Paladin. I think as a Subtlety Rogue counter with all the utility that it has, Ret Paladin snuffed Rogue out of being selectable last season, and it's still, I think, strong in that position against it, and because you know what comp's coming your way, that you could see a couple of Rets. So I think it could have a chance here. Discipline Priest, another healer that I think could be S tier. Its mana is really solid, good damage output, RMP, can't really go wrong. Holy Priest, I think we'll see it because literally if Zenlin competes, he'll play it, and he'll probably get into at least the top 8 a few times, but I don't know if it'll win. So maybe B for now in tournament play, just because there's literally one person that plays Holy Priest in tournament play that will be able to see it. Otherwise, I'd say there's no shot you'd even see it. Shadow Priest, I think this is probably an A tier option. I could see a couple Wizard Cleaves, especially like Demonology Shadow Priest being really good into things like RMP, and Shadow Priest Rogue as well into things like RMP. So pretty good chance, I think, of seeing it. Just really good, balanced, well overall utility. Assassination Rogue, probably B tier. Again, I could see a couple teams Destro Rogue and trying to play Assassin instead of Sub for some rounds for some reason, even though Sub is obviously way better in tournament play, even though in the past we've seen that happen too, where they play Assassination. I think we could see it. Don't know how well it'll do, which is why I think it'd probably come in on B. Outlaw Rogue, we're not going to see this spec. Just it is not going to be strong enough, I think, to see it in tournament play. Subtlety Rogue, this is one that I think could do extraordinarily well, probably win the whole thing, possibly even in both regions, have multiple teams with one. It's just got the best control. When played at the highest level with comms, you're invincible, has the highest likelihood of being able to end the match. It's just absolutely crazy right now in competitive play. Elemental Shaman, this is one where I think it's probably A tier. Again, like Ellie Boomy, maybe even Ellie Rogue, but mostly Ellie Boomy. I could see as a comp popping up as like a melee cleave counter if anybody's trying to run any sort of turbo stuff. So there's a chance we could see it and it could do well. Do I want to say it's probably more likely than anything on the B tier, I think, to see and have success. Enhancement Shaman, this is another melee DPS, which I could see taking the whole thing. Enhanced Rogue is actually a sleeper, really good composition. And Enhanced Warrior, obviously, with Turbo, is a really consistent ladder comp, could situationally be really good in tournament play. Just really raw damage, good regen, great team support. Like, it's got a lot of defensives now with burrow, like pre-burrowing a go and stuff like that against things like RMP. It's going to increase its competitive viability, and it's just in a really strong position. Resto Shaman, I could see Resto Shaman losing on mana in most situations in tournament play. I don't think that it's the worst healer. I think we might see it just because there's a lot of Shaman mains, at least when it comes to NA. But I think it probably has a less chance overall of the other healers. Better mana than Evoker, but nowhere near as much damage. Way worse mana than Mistweaver, and maybe equal or close to worse than Disc Priest on mana. So maybe a decent chance, but I could see it having a tough time. Might be pretty good into the Boomkin compositions, though, especially the Boomkin wizards like Shadow Priest, Boomkin, and Ellie Boomkin. It's possible they could do well because of that. Affliction, we're not going to see it. It's just all it brings is damage, and even that is not really that much. They got to do something in terms of bringing some offensive crowd control and ability for Affliction to end the game before we really ever see it in tournament play. It's just not going to happen. Demonology, this is another one that I think could be S tier. I think that it's really strong into subtlety rogues. So it could be like a bit of a triangle. The rogues are keeping the boomies and the DHs down. The DHs and the boomies are keeping the demos down, but the demos are keeping the rogues down. So it could be like a bit of a triangle going on in terms of the meta between all those specializations, but definitely S tier. Destruction Warlock, this is probably the one that's most likely to win. I think a lot of players anticipating Destruction Warlock subtlety rogue healer as the best composition for moving into a tournament. I feel like that's what most of the teams are preparing for as like the main meta point. But I do think these other specs could maybe throw a wrench in their plans. But I could definitely see why that would be considered to be the best special or best combination of classes. Just insane raw output. The rogue can set up wins so easily. Arms Warrior. Tournament play, I want to say probably A tier. Again, Turbo or Ret Warrior popping up every once in a while could be an option, but I don't think it's going to be the spec that's kind of like taking over the tournament, and we're just spam seeing Fury or Arms Warrior all over the place. Fury Warrior, we might see it, but I really don't think it would be for very long. Again, Ret Warrior, Turbo, but I think Arms will likely still be the mainstay, at least when it comes to tournament play. Now, on ladder, I think Fury, surprisingly, is starting to maybe outperform Arms, which is weird, but a lot of the highest level players at the moment, at least that I've seen from streams and stuff, they're still pretty stuck on Arms, and it's doing well for them, so I don't really see why they would change otherwise. And then Prot Warrior here is just coming in on the bottom. You guys can't see it, but I will move my camera now out of the way. This is how I think. So the main ones I'm like somewhat, I think we're going to bump Arcane. We're going to bump Evoker up. I just see a lot of people prepping these. I think that there could be a good shot that you see them. I don't know how likely it is that they win it, so it's a little bit lower. I think it's higher than Fury or MM or Resto Druid, though, I think. And maybe even Resto Druid's a little low. Certainly DK is going to have a really tough time. You're just not bringing the burst, not bringing the type of sustain that you're really going to need. Really sad that you got nerfed on your zombies when it really didn't even seem like you needed it as Unholy. Frost DK's got like a couple cheese comps, but I don't think it's going to be seen other than that, unfortunately. But this is how I would see a tier list. And you can see, like, at the highest level of competitive play, there are a lot of specs. Like, there are a lot of specs that we're likely going to see in the tournament. I do think Subtlety Rogue, maybe I should have made another tier and put Subtlety Rogue and Destro on that one. I do think those ones are likely going to be running away with everything. But the rest of these specs are definitely going to keep the race a lot closer in tournament play when it comes to it at the end of the day here. And these guys will have a chance too. It might squeeze in some sleeper comps that possibly we haven't seen yet. So it could be very exciting. But this is my observation so far for 10.1 and what I'm expecting for a potential tournament outcome. Hope that you guys enjoyed the video. And thank you very much for watching.